is Robert Wolf reporting from the center of the Mopar world in June of 2021, the Midwest Mopars in the Park Show. The Midwest Mopar Club's Mopars in the Park Show is the biggest Mopar show you've probably never been to. The Mopars in the Park Show began in the state of Minnesota way back in 1984. It all began at a circle track raceway in a little town named Shakopee, very close to the airport and the Mall of America. The show would eventually outgrow that facility, and in 2009 it moved to the city of Farmington at the Dakota Fairgrounds. Despite Farmington being quite a bit away from the show's original location, it continued to grow to the point that it ultimately expanded from a Friday-Saturday event to a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday show. Noting unreconcilable differences with the Dakota Fairgrounds, in 2019 the show was moved more east to the Minnesota-Wisconsin border to a charming little town of Stillwater. Again, a fairgrounds was secured to host this event. With this move, it did seem to take a little of the momentum out of the show. We discounted that to a moving year issue that would correct itself on the following year. Unfortunately, that following year did not come to pass. The COVID lockdowns of 2020 forced the club to cancel the show. While us diehards were bummed out, it turned out to probably be for the best. On that very same weekend that the 2020 Mopars in the Park Show was supposed to take place, Minnesota was ground zero for the George Floyd race riots that burned through the city. Now, it's certainly arguable whether or not the Mopar Show patrons would have been physically affected by the wanton mayhem if the show would have happened. But there's no doubt everyone in America was mentally affected by what went down in Minnesota that weekend.
Charred remnants of last night's rioting, the fury evident at every corner. Overnight, demonstrators had rampaged. The violence, the anger, and the flames, at times well out of control, continued until dawn.
For 2021, the Midwest Mopar Club began to put the pieces of their show back together, and of course, Mopar Collector's Guide was there for all the fun. This year's Mopar Show was literally the first car show to happen in Minnesota since the 2020 lockdown, so expectations for attendance was very high. You know what else was very high? The temperature. Afternoon temps broke records at literally 99 degrees. That was not the heat index, but the actual temperature. There was one thing that Minnesotians are not used to, and that is the heat, and there's no doubt that affected the potential of this show. Like the other shows so far this year, it was also affected by the lack of Canadians because of the border being shut down. Even with all of that considered, for 2021, the Midwest Mopars in the Park Show was still a powerhouse, ranked solidly amongst the top 5 Mopar shows in the world. To put the Mopars in the Park Show in perspective, you should think of it as a mini Chrysler's at Carlisle event. The show takes place in a park-like setting with several pole barns set aside for highlighted cars, and like the Carlisle event, they do a great job of hand-picking the cars on display in them. Just like Carlisle, there is also a large swap meet and no racetrack. Someone at the club talked the fairgrounds into adding a special patch of concrete dedicated specifically to Mopar burnouts. In case you were wondering if there are any rednecks in Minnesota, their burnout contest should sell that question for you.
I don't think he'll like high gear. Give him a round of applause there, folks.
Unlike any other burnout contest I've ever seen, it was not judged by crowd noise, rather by an Olympic-like panel of judges who consider multiple factors to crown a winner.
redeem himself?
Yeah, he wants to see if he can do.
Who's the winner?
Number 4.
Winner number 4.
What was that? Who was that?
Twin turbo.
Twin turbo truck?
Yep. Number 4's
Arguably the most significant car at the show was this original White Bear Dodge Promo Daytona. As far as modern motivated machines, this Hellcat motivated wagon was a hands-down favorite. As far as the best of show, it would have to go to this unrestored 1971 GTX Survivor. As always, you can read the in-depth stories on these cars and many more from this show at the only Mopar magazine that matters, Mopar Collector's Guide. Back in 2018, when this car show was held at the Dakota Fairgrounds, the show hit what I believe was their biggest numbers ever: 300 swappers, 1,600 cars, and 12,000 spectators. I don't believe this show was able to duplicate those numbers since that venue change. Is it because of the move? I don't think that question can be fairly answered just yet. Can those 2019 numbers be topped? I believe they can. As I stated in the beginning of this video, this is the biggest Mopar show you've probably never been to. Despite its huge attendance, it's still a very center Midwest-centric show. This show is truly world-class, and as more Mopar enthusiasts from around the country retire and are able to take more time off and hit the road looking for killer Mopar shows, I believe they will discover this jewel and could make it a regular stop. That's a wrap for Mopars in the Park 2021. If you've never been to the show before, definitely put it on your bucket list. It's one of the top 5 Mopar shows in the country. This has been Robert Wolf, and until next month, I'll see you on the pages of MCG.